Okay, well, that's not a bad way to start the day. A little bit of sun on the mountains, some shine on a lake, some green along a little stream, flowers still blooming. Not too bad for the first day of October. But the main reason I was out this way was to see if there were any migrating birds coming through. Found this flock of mallards, and on that same shiny lake, once the light moved around a little bit, there were geese. Quite a few of them, actually. They were mostly white-fronted geese and snow geese, and there seemed to be a bunch more of them coming in. The ones on the lake were sitting pretty still, but all of a sudden there was just a cloud of them swirling around, and I could hear more of them a little bit further off, too. So I stayed to watch these guys for a few minutes and then had another look around. And maybe a kilometer away, right beside the highway, there they were. There had to be well over 1,000 of them in this field. And even with the noise of the traffic going by and the sounds coming from a couple of feedlots that weren't too far off, they were making a racket. And then a train came along. That set them in motion, and they whirled and twirled and came back to land again. Well, most of them anyway. But that made me wonder what else was around, so I kept looking. Ring-billed gulls. They're forming up into flocks too, and they'll soon head over the mountains to the Pacific coast, or maybe a little bit further south too. These eagles were hanging around not too far from the big flock of geese, probably just waiting to swoop in and grab some lunch. I hung around with the geese for a few more minutes and then headed further east. There's some big ponds out that way, and I wanted to have a look. And what I found was starlings and lots of meadowlarks. They're forming into flocks, and they'll be all headed south soon too. But though I wasn't finding very much for birds, it was sure pretty out there. I found this redneck grebe on Crawling Valley Reservoir, and I could hear geese when I stopped to photograph this wild asparagus. The leaves along the irrigation canals were nice. But really, these were the only geese I saw. Snow geese and white-fronted geese again. And they were nice, but not that many of them. Over on Snake Lake, some birds. A killdeer. There were some yellow lakes poking around in the shallows. And though I was enjoying the nice brown cattails that were rattling in that soft Chinook wind, and picking out lone trees on the horizon, I kind of wanted to get back to that big flock of geese. So I followed the train tracks back across the Siksika Nation and over toward the first place where I'd been that morning. Some Canada geese hanging around on a small slough. Lots of magpies and starlings. And if anything, that big flock had grown. I can't even imagine how many birds there were. 2, 3, 4,000. They were everywhere. And I'm willing to bet that there will soon be more. Because now the fall migration has truly begun.